Just recording. Not live streaming. Good. Ready? We'll call tonight's meeting of the 4B Economic Development Board to order for Tuesday, May 10th at 5:35 p.m. Public comments. The 4B Board invites citizens to address the board on any matter except items on the agenda and public hearings that are included in the agenda. Comments related to items on the agenda and public hearings will be heard when the specific item/hearing starts. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise required by law to address the board. The board is not permitted to take action or discuss any items not on the agenda. The board may choose to place the item on a future agenda item. There's nobody's present. Is anybody online?
No, sir.
Close public comment. Move on to action item 1, discuss, consider, and act upon the minutes from the March 8th, 2022 board meeting. One thing I pointed out to you earlier is that we didn't have the vote to approve the February finances in there, so as long as we just add that line. Correction I noticed.
I don't have anything that.
No other changes. Can I get a motion to approve pending adding vote on item number 2?
I'll make a motion to approve pending adding the item on
February financials.
February financials.
Motion made by member Chase,
I'll second.
seconded by member Anthony. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. On to item number 2, discuss, consider, and act upon the March 2022 and April 22 financial reporting and related items.
We're going to start with March 31st, 2022. Month-to-date revenues were $106,884. Expenses for the month were $34,106.28. They included the routine landscape maintenance at the Four Corners. We paid for GIS planning subscription renewal, some additional billing due for the park's conceptual plan, some folding chairs for the job fair that the EDC participated in, turf grass treatment, and a new water fountain at Jobson Park, turf repairs at Jobson Park, batting cages, and some trash cans on the basketball court at Town Center Park. As of 3/31, you had total revenues of $604,762 and total expenditures of $429,092, bringing your total fund balance to $3,166,730. Going to go ahead and go right into April and then be happy to answer any questions you might have. For the month of April, as of April 30th, 2022, we had month-to-date revenues $91,003.99, month-to-date expenses of $23,920.82. The month-to-date expenses included our routine payroll. We had an additional billing for the park's conceptual plan, this time a new water fountain at Vineyard Park, and we were a sponsor for the Sunnyvale Education Foundation's 2022 Mardi Gras Gala event. As of 4/30/2022, you had total revenues of $695,766, total expenditures $453,012, bringing your total fund balance to $3,262. Let's try that again, $3,262,214. I did want to add though, real quickly that next month's meeting, we would be bringing the proposed 2022-2023 budget for review and discussion.
Going back through the sales tax numbers again, and it's amazing. It's positive for the town as well as 4B and what we're able to use the money for 4B. But when you do the math, sales tax year over year is up over 50%.
Currently, year to date is trending a little more than 20% above what's budgeted.
Compared over budget, you're right, but compared to last year, it's over 50% increase year over year. So we increased by 30 for the budget and we're 20% above that. So. Any questions on the March or April finances? Two. Or do we need one or two? One. Okay. Motion made by member Cash, seconded by member Patton Manabon. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Move on to item number 3, discuss, consider updates on the following ongoing projects. First off was Glacier. Obviously, the fire station's coming along well. Well, appears to be coming along well. Hopefully it is.
Yeah, especially now that we've gotten looks like we're in about 10 days without rain. We've gotten a cycle there of rain every 3 days, which was very hard to pour concrete in, but I think they're going to finish the foundation and maybe start even the parking lot in the next week or so.
Any other updates regarding the Glacier barn specifically?
No, other than we're actually interviewing those folks this week. So.
So are we waiting to move forward with any plans on the barn until that's reviewed and decided upon?
Yeah, so when we had the most recent conversation about 16 or 10, and ultimately the decision was made at council to go with 10, there was some concern about whether or not we would be able to find an operator at 10 stalls. And so council asked us to pause actually bidding out the project to make sure that we could find an operator. And so we put out the 10 stall barn for operators. We got 2 responses. And so we're going to interview those, vet those this week, and then take both to council for consideration, and then get some direction from council just with this operator. How do you want to move forward? And then based on that direction, it would come back to 4B for approval as well with the actual contract for construction.
So is there a sense that if the RFPs that have been received aren't satisfactory, that the project would still stay on hold until someone else is located?
That would have to be a discussion that we have to have. It just depends. I mean, yeah, I would assume that we would want to make sure that there is an operator in place before we build a building that no one wants to run for us. So yeah, we'd have to go back to the drawing board in that regard. So the intent is to interview both parties that submitted this week and take those to council the second meeting in May, which is, I believe, the 23rd, and get direction from council on how to proceed. And then if council is fine with the operator and wants to proceed as planned, then we would work with our construction consultant to bid the project out. That's about a 6-week to 2-month process to get all the various bids in, and then we move back before you all, and then ultimately council again for approval of the contract to move forward with construction.
If the operators are looking for more stalls, do you think that'll be reconsidered?
So that is going to be part of the consideration at the council level if they've made those requests. The grant from the state,
So, yeah,
yes,
it was a state.
it was a Texas Parks and Wildlife grant, and we were not approved.
So, yeah. So that's on page 25, but the new application, notification just came out, so we're going to reapply for that. I guess that's it. Discuss it here for this specific thing, or we want to look at other options.
I think we probably want to talk to staff at Texas Parks and Wildlife and see if they can give us any idea of why we weren't considered more highly. And if we were right on the cusp, then yeah, we may tweak the proposal a little bit and reapply. If it just wasn't a project they were interested in at all, then we may apply for other projects.
Okay. So yeah, I would recommend we discuss what all projects we're interested in, and then apply for whichever ones make the most sense when we have the opportunity, whether it's that one or whatever. Sure. Looks like Town Center Park almost done with the cameras, but not 100% done.
The cable that Joseph had is kind of antiquated, so he's waiting on the new, get that installed, and then we'll be up and going. We've turned them on a couple times to, just to check, and they work great. Just waiting on that one new cable.
Any questions on Town Center? Jobson, we did the parking lot. Trash off day go well?
Went real well. Went real well. Probably serviced, I'd say 300 cars. It was a line almost nonstop. I can email everyone all the numbers of how many pounds of recycle and how many pounds of, tree limbs and so forth but we filled up 3 roll-offs and 2 trash trucks completely full. Like we couldn't get another stick in them. So it went real good.
And then we're still waiting, I guess, to come back to make those adjustments on the master plan and all that.
Yeah, they're actually, they're scheduled to come back on the 23rd to present it to council for approval, if you will. There's been a few edits since the last time, but since it was here, but nothing substantial enough to warrant having Hunter come back and re-present it. The one thing that's supposed to come out at this next meeting is the cost estimate. So we're reviewing that right now and get comments back to him before the 23rd.
So that'd be nice if we can finalize that before some of the grant opportunities close for this funding season, if we choose to move forward with something. Neat. And Rails to Trails. So if you didn't know, starting on the 16th, contractors will be coming in and cleaning the rail spur from the north end to the south end. So this isn't developing the rail spur, it's cleaning it. So trimming the trees and removing all the brush and stuff so you can looked at it. I guess you guys can describe in more detail. But, notices were put out. I've received a few phone calls with concerns about it. But also people that are excited about it. So it's, again, if anybody asks, again, it's cleaning up the property that we purchased. Obviously, we haven't even entered the design phase yet, so we're a long ways off from actually developing it. Anything?
Yes, sir. No, so we're just doing it because we own it now. We have to keep it as close to code as possible. You know, as many times a fiscal year that takes. You know, so this is just the beginning. This will be the first one. You know, and there's some areas that we're not going to touch, you know, because they're more ornamental than they are, you know, blockade the actual design or the way it looks whenever that stage comes.
Do you have a sense of when the Stony Creek development will start working on that section of it?
Charles, I think.
Not exactly. They are currently grading the site. They'll start putting in utilities and then paving. And I would assume that paving typically comes towards the later half of the utility phase of the project. And so I would think that they would pour that while they're doing the rest of their paving and the rest of their sidewalks. And so it will probably be still several months out from actually paving it.
Is that the section that's between the Longhorns and the elementary school that they're moving dirt on now? Is that the?
Yes. Yes, on the south side of Nance.
Okay.
Yes.
Are they doing, so yeah, I was just curious, are they doing from Trip to Nance or just halfway in the middle from Nance down to something?
It's Nance down to where the existing homes are
Okay.
along, I'm trying to think what
Or
those
you enter off
mallards
Shelby,
and,
so
yeah,
whichever the
Yep.
street is on the
Yeah.
backside.
those streets.
So if they're not doing the whole thing, just half of it.
It's still a pretty good section.
Right. Right. Yeah, when I was just reading this bottom section where it said Nance Trip.
Oh, yeah.
it just
I was trying to
clarifying.
make it, I was just trying to give proximity.
That'll be neat.
And just to clarify another comment that has come up, it says drainage in here. What that conversation was in the trail alignment that the developer had proposed. It had the trail going into some low-lying areas of the Rails to Trails easement.
Okay.
And so we had them move it to high ground, basically, just to try and keep the path as dry as possible. So it's not more regional drainage. It's just sort of keeping the trail out of where the low-lying areas of the
So the
alignment
drainage
are.
within the rail spur,
Yes.
they were, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, we want it on the
Yes.
rail bed, not in the
Yes.
ditch next to
Right.
it.
They were trying to make it curvy and attractive. They just got a little curvy into some low-lying areas. And so we straightened it out and kept it up on the high ground.
Right.
I was just wondering if it might be something to think about, if we could figure out without too much work, how much it would cost to do one of those little pocket areas with pollinator or benches or something like that. So essentially that could be like the model home version
Right,
of
could be a
Rails
good
to Trails.
opportunity
Yeah,
to-
to show people what the rest of it would look like once it's done.
Work together with them on,
Mhm.
in addition to what they're doing, to
Right.
spend a little
Yeah.
bit to beautify the rest.
That's something we can talk about during the design phase. Maybe start with that area and, like you said, use it as a model to show people.
Yeah, I sent Eric some pictures. I was in Tucson last week and passed a little pollinator garden with benches and a few small informational signs, and it didn't look like it was a very expensive thing to create or upkeep, so.
I saw on the news last night. I have to go back and find out what the organization was, but somewhere here in Dallas County, there was some new parks being put in by an organization that's goal is to install pocket parks in various locations, and they're planning to do like another 27 of them or something, but it was using those stone blocks like we'd shown before and call them playgrounds, but it was basically things for kids to jump off of and on, and then plants and stuff like that. It wasn't your normal commercial looking playground. But if there's organizations out there that are funding the park developments in these small type settings, maybe we can take advantage of that as well.
Has the width of the trail been determined yet, or is that part of the design phase?
So when we originally applied for the first grant through TxDOT, it had to be, I believe, 12 feet wide. And so that's what we've been focused on, was sticking to be able to qualify for the larger grant opportunity. So hopefully that's where we're still at. And that's better for two-way traffic than doing, some of the ones you see now that are going through the neighborhoods that are like 8 feet. So
Sounds great.
then Vineyard Park. So the aeration is going to be contracted out. That's not us.
We're gonna do it.
Okay.
We're down to 3 field maintenance techs. And so we're just trying to keep our head.
So I saw that received quotes on the line above, just wanted to confirm. So I gotta say, I compliment you. You've done a great job on improving turf surfaces around town. So thank you.
I really can't take credit. It's just water. That's all you got to do.
Well, it's you and the whole team, and they're looking better than they did, when I first came and my kids started playing on Jobson. That's for sure. Samuel Farm, anybody have any questions?
We're about to repaint that parking lot, and I've placed an order for the new super duper water fountain that will actually work. And yeah, and this one actually has an adult dish, child dish, and a dog dish on it. Whereas at the sports complexes, we took the dog dish off because there's so many kids around that they stand on them, and then a week they don't work or they fill them up with mud, and so. But at this park, we'll put that back like it was.
Smells nice. Smells like cedar.
We tried to find Indian paintbrushes to just throw out there, but when we were ready, we found like 4 bags, and the shipping was more than the bags of seed. So we just wait till it's not $4.19 a gallon to get it here, and then I'll buy some in a spreader, and we'll go out there and fill that whole place up.
Y'all ever try to spread or you just leave them natural, the blue bonnets?
There's some places that I'd like to add blue bonnets with a natural look, but again, to get the seed here, the quality seed. I mean, you can go to Home Depot and get blue bonnet seed, but there's no guarantee that's going to take. So, and we need a spreader. So, we've got to calculate the cost of that for renting or buying.
I was just curious if,
Yeah.
other than mowing them and spreading them within an immediate area, I didn't know if y'all tried to ever collect and spread.
It's saving us right now that we don't have to mow. I mean, we're going to start next week because the seeds are starting to drop, but right now it's saving us to not have to mow Samuel Farms and the big empty location at Jobson. Keep everything cut and mowed.
Y'all plant the Indian paints over there at Jobson Park?
No, sir.
Where'd those come from?
Those were here the first spring I worked here. They just came up.
I just noticed them one day and I thought, wow, they put everything over here.
Yeah, no, I can't take credit for that one.
I think there may be some neighborhood help with that, because when I first started, there was not nearly as many as there are now.
This year's really
Yeah.
spectacular.
We had a real good bluebonnet growth too after the freeze. They really came in strong everywhere.
A lot of people came too.
That's, you pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud.
That's right.
So those kind of fall under town beautification. So see the irrigation, any update on I didn't see it elsewhere in here on the power, the light poles, any closer to those going up?
Closer, sure, but we still got a ways to go. We were trying to get Encore to help us out with the design of the electrical kind of circuits for the lights, and we just weren't getting the response we wanted. So now we're going to pay the contract with an engineering firm to draw up those designs. And then after that, we should be ready to go.
We already have them, or just.
The lights are in. Yeah, we've got an electrician lined up. They just want plans to go by to make sure that, they're pulling the right amount of power to the poles. And we were trying to kind of work with Encore to get them to design it for us for free, and they just weren't doing it. So we're going to pay somebody to do it, to get it done.
Any questions on development from anybody? Snow O'Reilly's is moving along quickly and it's supposed to open here. It's told by the end of the month, is that correct?
They put grass down. That's awesome. In Collins, South Collins. Glad to see that. Now I gotta find where they tore our sprinklers out so we can put them back in.
What concerns were there on the SH 352 project, and it said concern to town residents and business owners? Anything specific?
Those questions are.
What were the concerns, address issue of concern to town residents and business owners? Any idea of what that was?
I think there was some ingress and egress issues. And also whether or not they were going to put a light in at Stone Canyon and Collins. Traffic light. So some of the business owners missed out on the turn lanes, but I know you can't put turn lanes everywhere, us included. So you got to reconfigure your traffic pattern for that. But again, the offset is we got a really nice new road out there. So that's a good. So.
It's gonna be nice when it's done. I was over there early morning the other day. I don't understand why there's so many wrecks.
Crazy town.
Pulling out with all the barricades.
It's
Where
hard to see.
am I supposed to be?
Is there a traffic light scheduled for Stone Canyon and Collins?
I don't believe so.
See, it'd be nice, but there would be so many of them in short order.
And that's the problem is you can't have too many lights within a confined space where they all start conflicting with each other and it's just gridlock. So
Especially right off the highway. Would make entering Stone Canyon easier sometime.
It's totally better than it was. Maybe this will, I can't think that it would have any other effect but enhance the development of the property on the west side of Collins. At least some of those pads. We should hopefully see something come in, restaurants or whatever.
Any idea what's going in between, I guess, Chick-fil-A and the existing, where they're expanding the strip center there?
yeah, they're expanding the strip center. I know they're talking to a restaurant right now. I don't know the concept, but I don't think they have any tenants signed yet.
They were waiting on Chick-fil-A to open before they did that. That's what they had shared with me sometime.
What about those pads in the back? They're going to develop those as well?
I don't know about that.
Any other questions on development, construction?
Yes. So Collins, basically next to the school, is actually part of our road maintenance plan that the contractors are working on now. We're just waiting for school to wrap up and we'll pave it this summer. And then Jobson is actually part of phase 2 of our road maintenance plan that's currently out for bid. That should go to council for approval the first meeting in June. And the intent is that they'll whoever gets that will do that either late this summer or early this fall. The from Trip to Town East. Mhm.
Trip to Town East.
Mhm.
I think it's what, 2 years ago you did 80 to Trip. Maybe it's longer than 2 years.
It's a little bit longer than that. But it's pretty recent.
Sunny Fest coming up in June. We have fireworks 10 days prior to 4th of July, but that'll be nice.
Everything's set. We've even added a hot air balloon. It's going to be tethered to the ground. You're going to be able to get in it and go up 100 feet. It's going to be there about 2 hours, 2.5 or 1.5 during the daylight, half an hour during the dark.
Weather dependent
Yeah, weather permitting.
or wind.
So, you know, if the wind's blowing that much, they're not going to be able to do it. But
Right. They have the little. I was there when that happened the other day. I was like, ooh,
we're going to try.
that'd be neat. Other events farther out. I know we've talked about at some point restarting, movies in the park and stuff like that, but since it's already almost 100 degrees, I said we hold off till fall.
Well, we have a few vendors that do the drive-in movie.
Mhm.
So work with the high school, use their parking lot. And the vendors that we have run the event completely with car hops and bring you popcorn if you purchase it, and you tune in on your radio and you can sit in the car and watch the movie, in the air conditioning rather than having to sit out in the heat. And usually, we can do one during the fall, which would be outside, one during the spring, which would be outside, and then winter and summer, we would do drive-in. So we've got all that organized. We're just waiting on to go.
I filled my diesel truck up the other day. I think I'd wait till fall instead of idle it. Any other questions on current projects, upcoming events?
Should the art in the roundabout be included somewhere in this? Or is that something you want to talk about? Last time.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's still kind of keen on the horse idea, but we were waiting on utilities and everything else and figure out, but
That'll be a consideration for the budget for next year. So next month, you'll see that in your budget for adoption. Then I'll go to council for approval as part of their budget process later in the summer. And then assuming both parties approve it, then we'll move forward with it next budget year. So it's all still in the works. We just got to wait for budget cycles.
understood. Then the traffic circle itself, there's no plans for any irrigation at all, right? So whatever we do there is all hardscape. I understand. So there's no water in the traffic circle.
So, yeah, there would be irrigation in the medians all along
Medians, but the middle of the circle.
and the traffic circle.
Oh, really? That's part of what they're bidding out right now?
Yeah, there's, I haven't confirmed it, but there's supposed to be a 1-inch tap right there in the circle itself.
Oh, okay.
So
Yes,
we're
sir.
trying to figure out how to get the rest of it sourced and as well as use what's there to tap into those other medians. It's supposed to be sleeved, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe I
that's part of
misunderstood
the,
that. I thought said there wasn't. So that's good news.
yeah, we hope there is. It's on the print, so.
Good.
The
If you paid for it, it should be there. If it's not, then they need to fix it.
the Sunnyvale sign on the south side of 80. Any desire to kind of pressure wash that sign?
I mean, the big one at Sunnyvale Center.
Mhm.
So technically, that's private property. We could reach out to the property owners and as part of town beautification and offer to help. They may do it, but
Yeah, we can ask them. It's not a code violation to have a kind of a dirty looking sign unless it's broken. I mean, there was one point where a letter fell off that
Yeah.
we addressed that with them through code enforcement. We can ask them to power wash it for sure. We can't participate in that since it is private property, but
we can't.
we cannot, no. But we can ask them.
So one question, and I would think this would fall under 4B, but I guess it would fall under future agenda items. I was in Richardson. I was on a committee that they appointed every year. And people could apply for beautification grants. And so, you know, older homes, people would remodel the front of the house or whatever, and they
Sure.
could apply for that stuff. As far as I know, we don't have a program like that, and businesses did it. So like when they redeveloped Canyon Creek, it used to be just a flat top, ugly looking strip mall, and then they made it look nice and they applied. And that would be a program, I think, as Sunnyvale's continuing to grow and they're trying to, would be a smart.
Definitely.
Yeah, we
thing
talked
for
about
us
that
to
years
consider.
ago, not an official program, but helping in the industrial park with plantings and things like that a long time ago. I don't know what happened with it.
Yeah.
That was discussed.
So if we implemented one of those, I would think that could fall under 4B, but seems like a use of 4B money would be good. But then project like that, if the business owner applied, went through the process and it was approved, then the town could basically provide some level of funding and then they could contract it, but it wouldn't be the town doing the work.
If there's a more formal program that everyone has the right to apply for and there's a vetting process for that, then yes, then the town can contribute to private improvements. But just for the town to identify someone and say, hey, we're going to pay to do this for you, absent some broader program, that's when it runs into some problems.
But that does look like appears to be a public sign, but it's not. So.
It's so large and I drive by it all the time. I'm thinking it needs to be clean. It's just so massive and it's light in color. The spots are dark. I'm like, somebody just needs to clean. But and forgive me if I missed this, but now that Collins has been widened, the arrow indicators on the road underneath the bridge need to be updated.
That is under text dot control, and we have asked them to do that multiple times.
Understood.
It seems like they're just waiting until the other side of the road's done before they do it. That's what it appeared.
Yeah, possibly.
I think the same thing every time you drive over here. Next, we discuss, consider, and act upon revising the 4B Development Corporation purchasing policy. So we discussed this in our last meeting in March, and you guys received it by email. We'll go over it real quick again.
So in a nutshell, the 4B's policy had not been updated since 2015. The town has updated theirs several times since. And I guess the biggest differences between this 2015 version and the current policy with the town is the it's $3,000 and up. Anything over 2,500 at one point in time or current under this policy would require it to come back to 4B. As JD kind of spoke to earlier, and Phyllis too, we had some water fountains, things like that exceed those. And so this would streamline it. It would make it the same as the town's policy, allowing the town manager to sign off for up to $49,999. Obviously, we would go through the same process. We would have quotes. You know, and if it's an item that's budgeted for, then we would be able to move forward with that. If it's something that's not budgeted for, then we would bring it back to y'all for approval. Do y'all have any questions? Can you speak one more time?
Now, how did you arrive at those breakpoints of 2,500, 25 to 10,000? Is that based on number of purchase orders that are issued, or what was the basis?
Are you looking at the old policy?
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you how they arrived at that. I don't think any of us were here when they did that, when they said that. Maybe, I mean, Eric, you and Nikki. Hey, Paul.
I don't recall.
Whether this is standardized. I don't know, some other. This is have some basis for purchasing process. Basically, it's possible.
Mhm. Yeah, that's,
So all of this in the packet is the old one.
No, just that one page. That one page is the policy, and then the rest of it is the new, that's the town's, correct.
But the amounts are the same.
yeah, but the amounts are the same, right?
It still has procedures, purchases up to 2,500, 25 to
Yeah,
10,
that's,
10,000 and more up to 50.
The difference is just in the approval process, right? You know, so we're just.
the amounts are the same, right?
Yeah, the approval process is the change.
It's basically just allowing you to make purchases under X amount of dollars without getting a bunch of approvals and.
We,
If it's budgeted, it's been basically prior approval, other
Right.
than
Mhm.
picking A versus B.
Previously, the town manager had approval only up to $10,000. And so when the town revised their policy, it was to increase that limit for the town manager to approve up to $50,000 without it having to go back before town council. Again, the items would be brought before the 4B board for your approval if it's a non-budgeted item. But if it is budgeted, then it kind of, like Burton said, streamlines it so that we don't have to wait in order to make the purchase by bringing it back before, since you only meet once a month.
Makes sense.
We talked about it quite a bit on the last meeting and made sense.
Get a motion to approve the revised purchase policy.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised purchasing policy.
Motion made by member Chase. Seconded by member Cash. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Next, discuss, consider, and review a draft of the new economic development website. Due to time constraints, we're going to table that for this month and cover it next month. So next will be future agenda items. We want to add the, I don't know if you call it beautification, redevelopment, whatever it is, committee/budget item. Like it could be budgeted from 4B and the committee could be somebody else, maybe. Whatever the right model is for that. Again, next month, we'll be looking at the budget for the following year and then also, I believe, addressing any potential modifications to this year.
Yes, that's correct. So we'll bring it before you so y'all can review what staff has put together. And then if you have any changes, if you would approve it either as presented or approve it with the changes so that it can be ready to go before council for their approval. 4B has to approve their budget by July. It has to be approved 60 days prior to the end of the fiscal year, which is in September.
Can we, on the future agenda items, can we get an update on possible tenants on Beltline? And also on Collins that they're considering for the new spaces? And the medical center on 80? You know what I'm talking about? Maybe by then we'll
Sure.
know more.
Yeah, we can ask.
Okay.
We're just dependent on what they're willing to share.
You mean also the story for what was the barn on 80?
Oh,
The insurance,
yeah. I don't-
insurance building looks like it's almost done.
Whatever y'all can find out.
Okay.
Just so we can kind of plan around it.
Sure.
Can we revisit also the signage, town signage that we talked about before? I know everything's under,
The entryway signage?
yeah,
That's another thing that is going to be in the budget to study and come up with a consistent design guideline for signage. So that was something that we talked about back in the October work session with council, and the decision was to delay that until this next budget year. So that's what we've been doing.
So is it about time for another work session with council? Was it October the last one?
they love us.
I was gonna say, if that's something you all are interested in, we can certainly
I would
ask
say, yeah,
council
we-
if
feel like
they're
we do
interested
need
in it.
We
They're in
do
the
need to touch base. every once
budgeting
in a while.
process and also to kind of prioritize some of our goals for next year, it may be a good idea to have hope it wouldn't have to be too long. And then one other, normally we take a month off in the summer based on availability and everything else.
I'm out in July.
Obviously, we have to meet in June. July might be an option.
I might be out in July too.
July, he's potentially out in July. Burton, July,
July would be good.
so mostly July, but we have to be conscious of the
I could
budget.
Maybe we could send, if there's different times in July that would work. Just know that I'm out that one.
At this point, we'll try to do July pending.
Right. If we bring the budget before you all in next month's meeting, then you can either, after you've had a chance to review and discuss, you can either approve it as we presented it, or you can approve it with whatever changes you'd like to make. And that would serve as your approval for it to go then to town council for them to approve it. So you wouldn't have to meet in July if you didn't need to.
And then it doesn't have to be finalized till September, so if it had to be modified, we could do that in August. Potentially. Okay. So we'll plan for that, Burton, July.
We can just confirm it next month when we meet, just to make sure.
All right, no other questions or comments? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I have a question.
Apologies. No problem.
Does 4B have any action items as it pertains to the downtown vision? I know we had the consultants come in and ask the city a series of questions, but is there anything that we can actually do? Kind of push the conversation forward?
Not at this phase of the process. Right now, that consultant's report was presented to council, and they are waiting for the next city manager, town manager, to come in and provide their comments on it before determining how to move forward. But at a planning phase, no, there's not really a direct approval or role for 4B.
Not that I'm aware of.
The town conducted interviews yesterday, and they're in negotiations with the candidate.
Motion to adjourn. Motion made by member Cash. Seconded by member Padmanabhan. All those in favor? We adjourn at 6:24 PM. Thank you.
We can just